be able to because I don't have the audio input, but maybe I don't understand how OBS works quite well. I figured we'd just have this so we could have the stream up for a couple seconds so we didn't immediately launch into the...
Give a little bit of time. I can respect that.
Don't launch into the tirade like we usually do.
Not a tirade, it's an analysis.
Yeah. It comes on thick and fast, usually.
Well, that's what they say.
Give me time to send out the usual the thing. No, I'm talking about. Yeah, you can hear us on the stream. What the heck?
Thick and fast.
What the heck? Okay.
What the heck?
What the heck? Gives
We
me
have the
time
stream on, but they can't hear us. What were the developers thinking?
Well, no, they have it. We have it on, but they can hear us. I don't know what the dealio is. Maybe it's because this is scene 2? I don't know. Whatever. Gives me a sec to send out the share. Too. The annoying share that I usually do.
Like, comment, and subscribe.
Hey gamers, check out this podcast.
If you like gaming, you'll love Audio Shop. Just completely lie to them.
Where we talk about video games. Probably give it till 35 is what I was thinking. Man, I still...
yeah.
Why can't they hear us? I don't understand. Doesn't make any sense.
What's happening? One sec, I'm sending my little brother my HBO information so he can watch tonight's episode.
So I noticed you requested...
Season finale, baby!
Yeah, you requested to start... Wait, no. Yeah, we're starting half an hour later. Are you going to be able to catch it in time? Probably not.
No, it starts at, Oh shit, yeah, I'm in Central Time.
Yeah.
Oh well, I can give it a little bit of time to load.
I mean, also, haven't the past few episodes not been super great? I don't watch it.
This
That's just
season
a whisper
hasn't been
through the grapevine, I've heard.
This season hasn't been everything I've hoped it to be, but you know, I gotta watch the last.
Oh god. Coop, you're going. Hello?
Hello?
There we go. You went all rubber band noise there for a second.
I went all rubber band man.
Yeah.
Rubber band man.
Alright, I'm closing everything that's not necessary.
Yeah, I'm gonna do the same.
I don't know why that happened. Hopefully we won't get the OBS crashes like we did last time. Still there?
I am.
Okay. I keep getting paranoid.
Paranoid Android.
Yeah, I'm gonna keep Discord open in a tiny little spot in the corner so I can see if we lose connection.
You're just talking to...
Yeah, that's exactly what happens. I'll be sitting here, chatting, trying to fill airspace because I think he disappeared, and then
they'll be like, huh?
I look over, I'm like, oh, everything is broken.
No.
Alright. You ready to swap and start?
Let's do it.
Alright, smooth scene transition there. It's smooth. Alright, and hello. Welcome to the 4th Audio Shop.
I guess we can't say 4th week, because, it's been a...
That's, I think that's a bit of... One of them was my bad, the other one was both our bads.
Hey, graduating college, right? Takes priority, I'd say.
Well, one of them, I was here. I don't remember why. Was that when I graduated?
I think so.
And then the other one, we said we were going to do live when you were there.
Well,
and,
no, that was, yeah.
And they're like, oh, you guys are going to, hey, let's tune into the Audio Shop podcast, as I was, patting burgers to put on the grill in, a minute. and I hadn't even listened to the album yet.
It was technical difficulties.
Yeah, technical difficulties.
Delicious technical difficulties.
There were several pounds of ground beef gummed up inside the computer. So
it happens to the best of us.
Yeah.
Well, anyways, we're back now.
Yeah, and this week, The Wall, a classic. Only just one. Yeah.
Yes, the whole so thing. we're gonna break this up into 2 parts. Since, in case you didn't know, The Wall is a long album, clocking in at about 80 minutes.
86 minutes, I believe.
86 minutes. There's movies less long than that.
Yeah. It was, it took up the entire drive, my hour drive today, and it was still going, and I was a little concerned. So
that's why we're doing disc 1 of 2 today.
Yeah.
So that means we're going to be discussing from In the Flesh all the way down to Goodbye Cruel World.
Yes, but first, we actually got a comment on the YouTube archive that I wanted to address.
Oh, we did.
And crap, I didn't get the guy's name. Give me 1 second to pull this up. But that was the Billie Eilish episode. And I am not prepared. I copied the thing so I wouldn't play it, but I didn't copy the
actual information.
The actual guy's name. Avocado Pirate. There we go.
That's a good name.
Yeah, that's a very good name. But he had quite the thing to say about our review. So I'll start reading through it, and then we can stop and say some things if we need to. So this is from the start. You guys spent a lot of time on the LP, but seem to have missed a large part of the LP's thematic layout and the connection threads from track to track. You also missed the meanings of the lyrics. It's a shame because that would have clued you into why her voice is so distorted in places. Billie's songs follow a strong underlying lyrical theme and sonic context. She's not doing pop songs to showcase at talent shows. She is instead creating a sonic ambience with just the right singing and speaking voices along with the instruments to match the story and the lyrics. Where your friend is talking in one's sleep, evoking the haziness and blur of a dream.
Yeah, and then it goes on for that with pretty large majority of the songs.
Yeah.
And then the rest he goes on about, what was it, a kind of misinterpretation of her international level, which she was apparently a lot more popular overseas, especially than we realized.
Yeah.
It's not just a American thing as well.
Yeah, like when Coop first suggested we listen to her, I hadn't heard anything about her. I had seen Seth Everman's video, but that was when it was at at 500,000 views, which is not a small video, but it's nowhere near what it is. It's like at 30 million views now or something. Yeah,
it's definitely bumped up.
So when we initially set out to review the album, this was the first I was hearing it. Of course, now I hear it everywhere, but...
Sam, are you saying that we made Billie Eilish famous?
No, I'm saying that we were at the beginning of the wave that was already... We're saying, hey, let's review this tsunami. Or we'll review this wave. Maybe it'll be a tsunami soon, as we were getting sucked under by the rip current. So.
Oh yeah, it was good, and I think he made a good point, or she made a good point about the musical context of kind of the vocal elements had were made to play within the song to kind of match the story of the album.
But there was a couple things I wanted to talk about just that they brought up. They said, one of the things says, anyway, you guys wasted a lot of times without fully understanding the tracks, nor the album as a whole. There are many factual errors and needless speculation. Yes, that's what we're doing. At least I don't pretend to be an expert on most of the things we're listening to, unless we get to some Electric Light Orchestra or something like that. The Billie Eilish album, I listened through it once. That was it. I think it was once or twice. But everything I said was on my first listen. I'm not gonna. If you want the complete, here's what she actually meant, you should probably ask her, because that's going to be a bit more difficult to pick up from, just listening to it. But at least what I'm trying to give, I don't know about you, Coop, I can't speak for you, but I'm just trying to give my interpretation of the music.
Just kind of on a first or second listen through kind of basis.
Yeah.
So, of course, we're going to get things wrong. I guess that's the part of the name of the game. But it is nice to have comments that kind of help enlighten us, kind of help us set the record straight sometimes, because not going to get it all right, right?
Yeah, and I really appreciate this comment, because it's bringing up a lot of good points.
Which, speaking of which, I think, speaking of things we may not understand the full context of, that does bring us to today's album.
Oh, God.
And that's going to be The Wall by Pink Floyd.
Talk about something
So,
I didn't know
Pink
anything
Floyd,
about.
you've probably heard of, since they are considered one of the most influential rock groups of all time, with some of the most influential albums of all time. I'm going to assume if you're listening to this, you've probably heard Dark Side of the Moon. And if you haven't, you should do that, since that's one of the penultimate concept albums, at least in popular media.
I haven't.
You have not listened to Dark Side of the Moon?
I started, but then I stopped because I started listening to other stuff, and it was also during school. So, well, yeah, I'll get to it. This is the whole point of the podcast, is to get me to
That's
listen
true.
to new
Open
stuff.
your eyes. Well,
Yeah.
don't be a Sam. Listen to Dark Side of the Moon. It's a great album.
Uh-oh.
But
hold
like
on.
I said, Pink Floyd, one of the most famous rock bands of all time. They have, I wouldn't say, I guess I can use the word pioneered.
Okay, we're connected again. Sorry, continue, Coop.
Oh, that's okay. So I don't want to say pioneered, but they definitely were like on the front wave of like progressive rock. Think of them kind of like, I guess maybe an comparison is what the Beatles were to the 60s. Pink Floyd might be said to be of the 70s.
So he said, be of the 70s. We're going to reconnect here.
Oh.
All right, we're back.
There, Sam?
Yeah. Man, we cannot get over these technical issues, can we?
Something wrong on your end?
Don't think it's my end.
Hopefully I have a strong enough connection. Can
Yeah,
you hear me now?
Yeah, that's better. I mean, my ping is only 14, so yeah, we're better now. I think it's on your end.
Okay. Well, hopefully
Right.
it stays stable.
The last thing we said is we heard was you likening it to the 70s.
Yeah, so kind of like an apt comparison might be like what the Beatles were for the 60s. You might say the Pink Floyd was for the 70s. Kind of that super popular British band that kind of helped push the boundaries of what could count as like psychedelic rock or rock and roll in general.
No.
So if you're comparing them to the Beatles, then that means they're probably a big deal. So we could go on and on about all their accolades and some of their most influential albums, but I feel like we should just get into the nitty-gritty this time and go right into The Wall.
Yes. So I did think it was a little bit weird that we were going to review a film this time, but I got to say I overall enjoyed it. It was it was an interesting
Sam.
watch.
Samuel. Oh no, I think you mistook Pink Floyd's The Wall for The Wall by Pink Floyd. These are completely different things.
So there's an album titled The Wall.
Yeah.
Oh, well, I got to throw out these notes then.
Oh man. Well, just make it up on the as you go.
Yeah.
No, that actually is true. The Pink Floyd's The Wall is actually a rock opera. So the whole point is that the entire album tells one single story. And they actually did adapt this into a film, creatively called The Wall, that uses all the music. Kind of think of if you've ever seen Tommy, it's along those lines.
Yeah, and it's actually weirdly the first result when you Google, because I guess everyone wants to watch the movie as opposed to listen to the album.
Well, the movie just plays the album with visuals,
fair enough.
So get the best of both worlds. Yeah, but like I said, The Wall is a rock opera album released in 1979. It was Pink Floyd's 11th album, so they're deep in the game by now. And it tells a complete story. Now, I've done very little research into what the actual story was, so I could kind of parse it through the music itself.
I did, so I can fill that in.
Hey, perfect. So we kind of have the differing viewpoints there. But I do know it's about basically, I guess, a rock star who's going through some troubled times.
Well, we'll get to that. It starts with his birth. Well, technically,
as all good things do.
Technically not his birth. It starts with him at the end of the album, technically, because the whole thing's cyclic, right? So the last song loops back to the first. And basically this first song is him from the end of the album saying hey, if you want to get to know me, you got to know the whole story. And then you don't know my story, or whatever that Instagram quote is. So basically it's him doing that introduction.
And he's doing that in the song titled In the Flesh? Question mark.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, so I guess it's as good a place as any to start on the first song.
Well, it kind of already started.
Yeah, so what were your thoughts on this first song, Sam?
It starts really, really nicely, in my opinion. The really heavy bass with the riffing guitar. I was listening really hard, and I heard some nice bit of synthesizer and organ in the background, which I always like. And then, midway through, it kind of breaks into that acapella-ish backing, way before the acapella craze. And then, of course, introduces the main character, whose name is Pink, of course, who's a rock star. And as I said before, he's kind of saying, you may know me, but you don't know my story, and then kind of goes into that. And it closes with a German Stuka plane. I think that's how you pronounce it. Dive bombing. That characteristic whine you think of when there's a dive bomb.
Yeah, like a World War II movie.
Yeah. And then a baby crying, which carries over into the next track.
Yeah, so it's definitely, I think it sets the mood well for the album with, it's got good heavy bass, riffing guitar, but it's also the lyrics themselves, even if you don't catch all of them, you get a very, melancholic feel to them.
Mm-hmm.
This is not a particularly happy album, I think we can both say.
Yes, it is not.
Even though some of the songs may seem happy on the surface, the lyrics usually tie back to some sort of depressive episode, or at least something that's a very negative imagery.
Yeah.
Which we get right off the bat, especially in that a cappella section right in the middle. But I do kind of like how at least to me, this feels almost like the opening to like a concert.
Yeah.
Like it's got like these like large booming like guitar riffs. It's almost got like a stadium echo to it. And of course, this kind of goes away once it gets to the a cappella section in the middle. But it still kind of has this stadium rock feel to it.
Yeah, which is good you picked up on that, because that's actually kind of the theme of that opening scene in the movie, is a stadium kind of rock thing. I won't go too much into the themes, because that's kind of more in the second half. Now we kind of give some things away. But I did.
Can you spoil an album?
Yes,
I guess so.
It always, you ever seen Food Fight?
The movie?
Yeah.
I believe. I don't like it.
It's same kind of concept, where you read the wiki and read there's Nazi undertones, and you don't believe it till you get there.
Are there Nazi undertones?
In which? Food Fight or?
in the album?
Yes, there are.
Oh wow! Well,
exactly. So we'll get to that on the next half of the review, though. That's kind of where that comes in.
Oh, well, good. Let's step away from that for now.
Yes. So, moving on to Thin Ice, unless you had something else to say.
No, I think In the Flesh is a really strong opening.
It is very
Though
strong.
I guess it's a little deceptive with how like rock and roll it is. But I think the acapella kind of gives away, kind of strips back that there's going to be a little more going on under the hood in the wall.
I agree that's a little misleading with all the rock, but I haven't listened much Pink Floyd, to be honest, but the songs I do know them from are all slower, so I kind of knew what to expect. But yeah, so moving into Thin Ice, it's, of course, launches straight into the classic slower Pink Floyd songs with minimal backing tracks, really focusing on the vocals. And after finishing, the very, very small vocal section at the beginning, because this is kind of more of a storytelling piece rather than a full individual song, I felt, anyway.
There's a couple of those in this.
Yeah, it reprises the opening riffs, which are very, very good. They tone back the bass a lot to kind of tie it in to the first song, since the first song is kind of a prologue, or an epilogue leading into a prologue, I don't know, since it's cyclic. But
it's like poetry, it rhymes.
Exactly. But yeah, it kind of ties it together to kind of present the whole album as a cohesive thing.
I did notice with those guitar riffs, I almost felt like they were like shifted into the minor key, or maybe something along those lines, because they felt like a little more sinister in this song, especially since it's a much slower, sadder song.
Yeah, I will say, I wrote this later, but I might as well say it now. I really had a hard time analyzing the story and the music at the same time. I kind of wish I had had time for a second, or a third listen, rather, because I listened through it once, and then I wrote everything. But it was really hard for me to talk or think about the story and keep track of that, while also trying to think about the music.
I think it's definitely an album with a little more layers that requires multiple listens.
Yeah.
Just because of the story and music kind of work in tandem. Though even without the story, it's still a pretty dang good album.
Yeah, it is.
But yeah, this song's a lot darker. It's little more melancholic with the vocals, and it's like mostly a piano accompaniment in that first half.
Hmm.
I mean, it starts off with a baby crying, so you always know that's gonna lead into an interesting song.
Yeah, that's Pink being born.
Oh, so that's the main character.
Yes. And this is kind of setting up the themes of the world, I guess you could say, that he's being born into. I should probably have the lyrics open here at the same time since I'm supposed to be the one with the story knowledge.
From what I remember, the song's talking about like the thin ice of life,
Yes.
kind of like always treading water,
Yeah.
which is
mommy and daddy love their baby. Basically, don't be surprised when you go crazy because of how many eyes are on you.
huh.
Kind of setting the tone. Yeah.
Yeah. So
Very happy song.
yeah, and that's what you want to tell your kid right as they enter the world.
Mm-hmm.
You're gonna go bonkers.
Yeah. Hey, we love you, but you're gonna go crazy.
Which kind of happens throughout the album, at least a little bit. So at least he called it there.
Yes.
And then, so I think maybe you're right. It's a little bit more of a story piece, kind of carrying on from In the Flesh, just at a slower pace, explaining the baby born.
Mm-hmm.
And then it goes on to the next song, Another Brick in the Wall, Part 1.
Which is also a bit of a story piece, in my opinion.
Yes. Actually, kind of Another Brick in the Wall, I say, is probably one of Pink Floyd's most recognizable songs. Even if you weren't a big Pink Floyd fan, like you probably have heard this song before.
Well,
though maybe not in this version, because I'd say that's more part 2.
yeah, everyone knows part 2, I'd say, but there's part 1 and part 3 as well, which I've certainly never heard on the radio. But
one wants to play part 2 because part 1's a lot slower.
Yes. Also, it is again one of those kind of story pieces setting up Pink's early childhood. And
we should probably mention that even when we say story piece, it's still good music. It's just a little more lyric focused.
Yeah, specifically, this song introduces the classic "Another Brick in the Wall" melody. All 3 songs follow the same melody and kind of lyric structure.
So unlike Apex Twin,
yes,
these are actually different parts of the same song. They sound similar.
Yes, you could play them all back to back, and it'd probably be cohesive.
Yeah, and this one, as opposed to later, Another Brick in the Wall parts, got these like very haunting, quiet guitars and vocals, and the guitars almost had a Western vibe to them at parts, or at least I was kind of imagining like an open plain type of guitar situation.
Yeah, and that again, you don't know the story, but you're picking up exactly what they want you to pick up. The whole story of this piece is I didn't pick up this at first. I had to read it on the wiki, but I got that his dad left, and he didn't leave anything for him except memories, pretty much.
Oh.
And when he was very young, and it turns out this whole rock opera is set during, or at least the beginning of it is set during World War II. So his dad went to war and died. So, and then it brings in just all in all, it was another brick in the wall. And in this case, that means him building his mental barrier against the world.
It's a metaphorical wall.
Yes. Oh, yes. Very metaphorical. It's him basically slowly regressing into himself and going crazy throughout the whole album.
And this is part 1 of that. Okay, so it's kind of like a more of an origin story of sorts for the brick in the wall, which is maybe why it's a little more subdued and a little more sad.
Yeah, so basically it's all these traumas and things in his life that are causing him to think it's a good idea to shut out the world.
Interesting.
And this is the first brick in that wall.
The first brick. But there's going to be more.
Yes.
At least 2, in fact. Though I think you're right with these. Actually, all 3 of these next 3 songs, Another Brick in the Wall Part 1, Happiest Days of Our Lives, and Brick in the Wall Part 2, almost feel like one song together. Like if you just put them all together and just named them Another Brick in the Wall, I believe it'd be a single song.
Yeah, they all mesh together very well, for sure.
It's a very cohesive song unit. Which brings us to The Happiest Days of Our Lives. which kind of starts to build up that energy.
Yeah, the fourth
So
song
far,
on the album, just
yes,
keeping up at home.
with the Thin Ice in part 1, both have been kind of more mellow, a little more introspective, but Happiest Days of Our Lives is starting to pick up that energy. I definitely found this album has a good ebb and flow in terms of like slow songs and faster songs.
Yeah. Although I think it's more on the slow side for the most part, especially on this first half.
But
so
yeah, this.
Sorry, go ahead.
Oh yeah, no, this song starts to introduce. Like I said, I haven't read the lyrics before, but it seemed to have a. Pink certainly doesn't seem to like the school system.
Yeah.
Seems to be a running theme.
Yeah,
and you can start to detect a lot of not just sadness, but like kind of anger in the vocals.
Yeah, so again, this song, I had this song, his vocals do almost all the work in these first couple. There's very, very little backing. And it's very reliant on the background noises, which I like. Specifically opening with helicopters flying over, and the guitar riff ending from Another Brick in the Wall Part 1. And then and the song Happiest Days of Our Lives ending with Another Brick in the Wall Part 1 ends with kids playing in the background or fighting, which then plays into the school theme of Happiest Days of Our Lives. And the kind of story behind this one, just to fill everybody in, is him, getting older and going to school, and certain teachers, as he puts it in quotations, hurting the children any way they could, basically trying to expose their weaknesses and expose the weaknesses to the world and make them feel self-conscious and hurt about it. Which kind of like explains, a
childhood trauma type situation.
Exactly.
Oh well. Then I guess is that it for the Happiest Days of Our Lives?
That's all I had. Yeah.
Yeah, because then that like I said, this kind of intermediary between part 1 and 2, but it definitely gets the energy start to build up. And then once we hit Another Brick in the Wall Part 2, it just takes off.
Yes.
It definitely goes right into the famous "We don't need no education" line.
And a lot more heavy rock vibes, too, as opposed to the slow, methodical Pink Floyd sound.
Yeah, not even just rock. There's definitely some funk influence in here as well, with the kind of that funky guitar bass.
Yeah.
Riffing in the background. Definitely some really awesome vocals and lyrics.
Yeah, definitely some pop influences on this album.
Which, given that this was released in, 1979?
Yes.
It's kind of that cutting edge of, like, rock and pop, right? Yeah.
Kind of the first, they had it listed as something like progressive pop, progressive rock.
Right. But it starts to blur the line.
Yeah.
You can definitely see it in this song.
Yeah. And everybody's heard this, or hopefully everybody's heard this. It's very famous, although I don't think I've heard it on the radio recently. Starts with a very smooth transition again. These previous 3 songs could be one and the same. And the lead singer of Pink Floyd has a very distinctive singing style, and layered over itself provides the classic Another Brick in the Wall sound, really. And then it introduces the children's choir, which is always great. Although I put choir in quotation marks because they weren't really singing, in my opinion.
It's kind of shouting.
Yeah, they're kind of just talking.
But I think it kind of adds to it, because they muster as much child anger as a child can muster. Kind of adds to kind of like that punk, too bad for school attitude.
Yeah, I don't know. I've seen some videos of kids getting real angry.
Well, okay, not like scream crying angry, but like sticking to the system angry.
Yeah.
This definitely does have another a very anti-establishment vibe to it.
Which kind of plays along with taking place during World War II.
Yeah, with that anti-establishment, especially with this album coming out 1979. I'm sure Pink Floyd had some influence from like the anti-war movement.
Yeah.
kind of the anti-establishment movie that really swept the nation in the 60s and 70s.
Mm-hmm.
So this seems to be kind of a culmination of that, of rejecting the educational establishments.
And not just
That
educational, but governmental.
governmental, too. And then kind of who are trying to make you just another brick in the wall. That lyric comes back again.
Yeah, so kind of brick in the wall takes in a double meaning, as in government doesn't give a crap about you, and these traumas building up Pink's mental barrier.
Yeah, it's an interesting dual meaning of, and I was picking this up as we went farther into the album, of kind of between both conforming and isolating.
Yeah.
Which are basically the two main themes of this album.
Yeah, especially more so in the second part where he tries to overcome conforming, or overcome isolation to conform more, as opposed to his first half where he's overcoming conforming to isolate more.
Right. They're kind of two sides of the same coin.
Yeah.
Though, unlike real life educational mistrust, this one ends with a sick guitar solo.
Yeah. Probably the best solo on the album, in my opinion.
And there's some pretty good guitar solos on this album.
There are, but this one is the classic, you know.
And it comes right off the coattails of those children singing. Really makes you want to fight the establishment.
Yeah. And then it makes you want to fight it even more so with the lovely sound of very, very thick accented English teachers yelling at children to eat their meat.
If you don't eat your meat, you can't get your pudding. Which I like to imagine, even today, that's how all teachers address students.
Yes.
Kind of like how in Charlie Brown, they only make the wah 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 noise.
Mm-hmm.
Just combination of the word eat, meat, and pudding.
Yep, I'm pretty sure that's all they can teach in England. That's against the law. Boy, do you have a license to teach about anything other than meat?
Nope. It's illegal.
So yeah, it ends with the guitar solo, which, I mean, I can't imagine it ending any other way. It's a very short song, lyrically anyway. There's only like
a minute and a half of lyrics, maybe.
Yeah. There's only three verses as well. So.
But ends with a good guitar solo.
Yeah.
And it kind of ends up on a nice high energy note, and then kind of brings it back down with the next track, which might be the most like you see the title name. The track's titled "Mother."
Yeah, this is track
and if
6.
you didn't know anything about this album, you'd be like, "Oh, it's a nice song about this guy's mother, maybe about her motherhood, how he raised her." And it's kind of about that.
It is about that.
Even just on a casual listen, I could tell that maybe this guy might have some mama problems.
Yeah, this is the first time I know all the words to this one, so I was like singing along in the car, and I was like, hold on a second.
You know all the words to Mother? Ooh.
Well, I know most of them. It's a good song. I really like Pink Floyd's slow stuff, but I never I knew them, but I never processed them. If you know what I'm saying.
Right.
It's like I was.
When you start thinking about it, you're like, oh, that's kind of dark.
It's like I was parroting noises, pretty much. Because I only listen to it when I'm in the car, so I never focus on the song. But this time I was like, oh yeah, actually.
So what's the story with this song?
Yeah. So, I mean, this one, it just lays everything out story wise. It's, Pink has grown up. He's calling his mom. She basically is coddling him and guiding him through everything in life. He's asking questions. He's unsure of himself, and then she chimes in and she says, "Don't worry, I'll make all your nightmares come true. Put all of my fears into you." And
these are actual lyrics, by the way.
Yes, and won't let you fly, but I might let you sing. So yeah,
we got some Mama Dearest syndrome going on here.
Of course, Mama's going to help you build the wall. That's the only thing Trump wants to hear from his mother.
Well, hot take.
But
though, if anything, kind of reminded me of. You ever see that Disney's Tangled? It came out a couple of years ago.
I've not seen the whole thing in its entirety, but I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
And it's like the Mother Gothel, where it's like protecting you for your own good, but more or less it's just kind of keeping you prisoner emotionally. I'm definitely getting a lot of vibes there.
Yeah, definitely some mother problems. Kind
And
of, was it Psycho movie?
oh, with Bateman.
Yeah,
Yeah. So some other problems here.
yeah,
It definitely kind of transitions from. It's interesting because we go right from the high energy part two, and then it really slows down with acoustic. We got some like fluty keyboards and sad lyrics,
yeah.
and
Got
then
some
but as the
organ
song
in the
progresses,
background. Oh yeah,
and then as it progresses, it actually keeps building up energy until it goes into another guitar solo, another kicking guitar solo,
mm.
which maybe not as good as the one on part two, but also it's an interesting kind of building up this energy, going right down, and then building it up again.
But it's
That ebb and flow, like I was saying.
yeah, and it's definitely not as high energy as the guitar solo in part two. Or,
Oh no,
sorry,
no.
Brick in the Wall part two, not disc two. Brick in the Wall part two. But it's a much slower, more chill, and at no point did I pick up any, kind of insidious undertones, like some weird minor key shifts or anything like that. It's very, very happy and cheery song, which is why it kind of makes it even more uncomfortable when you read into the lyrics.
When you look into the lyrics.
So it's
No, if we're going to talk about
song.
happy and cheery songs, I think maybe the happiest sounding song on this album is probably this next one.
Oh God.
Goodbye Blue Sky.
Yeah, and just from the title, you can tell it's going to be a real, ever heard of Mr. Blue Sky? Yeah, it's kind of like that.
It's like that, right?
Yeah. No.
Though to be fair, it does sound, just from a surface glance, it's got like these birds chirping, there's like this airplane, a child talking, and it's very acoustic with these like harmonic, like a cappella hooings in the background. It's probably like one of the most melodic songs on this album.
I instantly picked up, because it started with the very lighthearted guitar, but there was the synth in the background that was kind of doing some really sinister key shifts.
This deep, sinister synth that just
Yeah.
kind of, and it doesn't like lose the guitar either. So they kind of clash just enough that you're like, something's a little bit off about this.
Yeah. So this is because this is set during, basically, I'm pretty sure I googled it real quick, and it was talking about Pink referring back to his childhood and remembering running from the bombs of World War II. So, although I didn't read that much. I skimmed. So again, please don't quote on my negligence in the comments. But
No, there's definitely even without reading the lyrics, I caught like those allusions to bombings.
Yeah.
In there. Definitely, it's no Mr. Blue Sky.
Yeah, for sure. It's and it doesn't do a ton for the story either. It's just kind of there. This I would say this is kind of the outlier on the album for sure. Or
But
at least
still,
this first part.
And even if it doesn't build the story so much, I think it's really good. It's definitely a different energy than the other songs.
Yeah, a lot more dark.
A lot more dark, but with this like kind of very melodic, upbeat backing, which is an interesting combination.
Yeah. But it ties, again, all the songs just kind of flow into one another, and it jumps
It's that rock opera vibe.
Yeah, jumps into the next one, track 8 on disc 1, Empty Spaces.
This the song kind of lived up to its name, where at least for me, I didn't feel like so much happened in it.
Yeah, it's
another one of those bridge songs.
Yeah,
so to
although
speak.
It kind of builds off the sinister undertones in Goodbye Blue Sky, and throws in that backwards speaking that all those 80s parents love to say was summoning the devil.
And all I think this was supposed to summon was like crippling loneliness.
Yeah, and there's not really any lyrics for this one either. It's just kind of soft.
I think there's like a couple lyrics of like something about like living in an empty space, but
Yeah,
I think that just feeds back into the
I don't know
isolation
if it's a
theme.
verse or it's just the lines, but the only lyrics are, "What shall we use to fill the empty spaces where we used to talk? How shall I fill the final places? How should I complete the wall?" That's all the lyrics in this one.
Yeah. And it's only a 2-minute song, so
Yeah.
it doesn't overstay its welcome. I think structurally it just makes more sense of you couldn't exactly go straight from Goodbye Blue Sky to Young Lust without it giving you a little bit of whiplash.
Yes.
So this
sure.
just kind of helps build up the energy without it being too sudden.
Yeah. And then jumping to track 9, Young Lust. title kind of sums up all it has to offer, in my opinion. Just him talking about I want a bone.
And to be fair, this is probably one of the catchiest, like, kind of single material type songs. He's got these really gruff. The vocalist has these, like, kind of goes for this really gruff and guttural type of vocal arrangement with, like, this really strong bassing percussion and some more electric guitar in the back. So this is definitely, like, probably, at least on this first half, one of the most traditional rock songs out there. Think of, like, Evil Woman, that kind of thing.
Yeah, and it definitely has a more classic rock feel than anything else, in my opinion. It definitely kind of moves away from the slow and really digs into the, rebellious teenager kind of thing.
Oh yeah, definitely. Because this one definitely got the I don't want to say punk, but I could say that maybe there's like kind of like the precursor ancestor to punk somewhere deep in here. Though I guess we've already sort of established that in another brick in the wall part two.
Yeah. And then but I like the ending of it because I when I first listened to this, I interpreted it as sorry, my train of thought just completely went off the rails there for a second.
I thought you
I interpreted
kind of broke down there for a second.
I interpreted this as Mr. Floyd calling his wife. Oh, I guess, okay, yeah. I was thinking it was Pink, or Pink's mom calling him.
Yeah.
Because it said Floyd, and I was like, oh, Pink Floyd. But no, that doesn't... His name just happens to be Pink. I don't think his last name is Floyd.
That would be convenient, though.
It would be, but it's Mr. Floyd calling his wife, and it's Pink answering the phone. And the operator's like, oh, he hung up. That's your residence, right? Is there supposed to be someone else there besides your wife to answer? So it's kind of saying he's hooking up with married women.
Thus the young lust.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't catch that. I got the phone call.
Yeah, I didn't realize it was. Well, I'm looking at the lyrics right here. That's why I have that. But I thought it was his mom trying to reach him again, and he was shutting her out. But I picked up on the wrong theme there.
Man, every layer you pull back on this album, you're like, wow, some dark stuff going on underneath.
It's like an ogre. It has layers.
It's like a dark ogre.
So, going on from Young Lust, which is probably the most upbeat song on this first disc, goes into track 10, One of My Turns.
One of My Turns. This one starts with almost a little bit of a skit.
Yeah, I think it's... I've never heard anything like it, and I really liked it a lot.
The skit? Or
yeah,
like the song in general?
Well, the skit. Like, it there's kind of got some music going on in the background.
It's almost just like droning keyboards just to fill in the space, though.
Yeah, but it still gives that kind of drive musically that without it, it would just kind of seem awkward. But basically the whole skit, to reiterate the album, is Pink and his girlfriend, or maybe not his girlfriend.
A girl,
coming back to his place, and it's basically her like, oh man, this is cool. Oh, this place is bigger than our apartment,
all in glorious English accents.
Yeah, but what happens is as soon as they come in, basically Pink sits down and turns the TV on, and she's like trying to talk to him, and he's just kind of sitting there listening and not responding, and then finally she's like, "Are you feeling all right?" And then it cuts to the song.
Which again, it's another sad one.
Yeah, of course.
Pink's not feeling any happier.
And this one actually is sad as opposed to traumatic. It's just kind of like, falling out of love sucks and stuff like that.
So I'm a bit confused at this. Story-wise, is Pink married to somebody, or is he just like looking for love?
Again, very cursory Wikipedia read earlier. I picked up that it was a like steady relationship, not marriage.
Okay.
but like the getting serious with someone.
Okay, kind of how he kind of isolates himself by nature.
Yeah,
So
and you say isolates himself, but specifically one of the lyrics I picked up on even when listening was he's saying that she has grown colder.
ooh,
So he's kind of placing all of the fault onto her, which kind of comes into it when he has a bit of a breakdown at the end of the song.
oh yeah, this song has an explosive second half.
Yeah,
Where it really goes off, like just the percussion, the guitar, even the vocals. He's like kind of scream singing,
yeah,
and I don't know. It almost seemed like a mental breakdown to me because it kind of ends with like the noise of like things getting crashed around.
yeah. So and I kind of picked up on that when I was listening, but going through Wikipedia, yeah, that's kind of what it is. Let me see what I had written down. He's it really builds to him jumping to that classic rock kind of feel again, where he kind of starts talking mad. He's talking about
Mad.
If you go into my room, oh, on the left, that's my favorite axe. He's like, oh no, don't be afraid. It's just a passing phase, one of my turns, as he puts it. And then he starts going a little bit more crazy. Like, oh, do you want to watch TV? Or get between the seats? Or sheets? Sorry, not seats. Contemplate on the silent freeway. You want to eat something to eat? You want to learn how to fly? Like, and at this point, he's like screaming. Kind of like,
it's almost like having an episode.
Yeah, it's like, you want to throw you out the window? It's like, do you want to see me try to fly? And then, it's like, do you want to call the cops? Do you think it's time I stopped? And then, why are you running away? So it kind of,
which is all beautifully backed by like some really good guitar work.
Yeah, and
with the funky guitars and percussions going.
About halfway through this, it shifts from the kind of slow mother pace to the classic rock of Young Love kind of thing.
Of course, still keeping that darker edge.
Yeah.
Almost like feels like someone having like a manic episode, right?
Yeah. I think that's what they're going for.
Like going from like full of energy, and then especially with this next song, kind of crashing.
Yeah. So jumping.
Speaking of the next song, that's that'd be "Don't Leave Me Now."
Track 11.
This one has a, especially with the organs, it almost has kind of a funeral organ sound to it.
Yeah.
Not like someone really dying, but maybe like a metaphorical death of whatever relationship is failing.
Yeah, so that was the first thing I had from this. It seemed like he was dealing with the breakup after he drove his girlfriend, in quotes, I don't know if it was his girlfriend or wife, away with his madness at the end of the previous song.
Yeah, it's definitely got a... It's a very, I guess the word is maybe like empty song, where there's like not a lot of filled space.
Yeah, but it's not... Yeah, the beginning is good. I like the beginning. But then it didn't really feel like a song after that. He's kind of just talking. There's dissonant organ chords in the distance with the occasional piano note. It's mainly just kind of like building on the story.
It definitely was stripped back more compared to all the other songs. Except for the ending is definitely one of my more favorite parts of the first half of the album. Really, kind of like the organs and the guitar all kind of break out.
The ending is good, but I don't think it makes up for the 3 minutes of basically just him talking. I had here more of a storytelling device, but don't worry, it's only the longest song on the first disc, coming in at like 4 minutes 13 or something like that.
That is true.
It's a bit much.
It's a little shorter than Mother. Mother's like a 5-minute song.
I could have sworn it was the longest one.
It's definitely one of the longest ones on the album.
But I feel like they could get away with the storytelling pieces when they were like a minute, but it wasn't really acceptable to jump to such a... Yeah, okay, you're right. Mother is 5:34. I take it back. I misread.
But that one had a little more going on.
Yeah, that one was a song. This one is just kind of storytelling with a minute of song at the back. So, that's just my opinion.
Yeah, but... Yeah, you definitely... It's just a little longer. It's too empty to be this long.
Yeah, and then even in the back half where there is the, keyboard and guitar going, the only lyrics are "ooh babe." So, you got lyrics in quotes at the beginning, and then when the song actually picks up, there's not really anything being said. So there's probably some theme you can get from that or something, but not my cup of tea. I'll say that.
I guess in terms of the story, having all that empty space kind of does leave an emptiness in the listener as well.
Yeah, and it's intentional, yada yada yada, but just because it makes sense for the story doesn't necessarily make it good listening. So.
Yeah, I'd say that though most of this album is pretty successful in melding the story and the listening.
For sure,
where one doesn't really sacrifice for the other.
Yeah, and this one isn't terrible by any means. I think it's just the quality of the previous ones. This one just kind of left a bit of a bad taste in my mouth.
You're definitely not going to go into this album and be like, I only got one time. I only have a time for one song from this album. I know. Don't leave me now.
Yeah,
let's crank it up.
Yeah. So
okay, and then
jump into 12. We have the third brick in the wall. Another brick in the wall, part 3.
And really, these next two, Another Brick in the Wall and Goodbye Cruel World, they're only both like a minute long. So they're really just like the kind of the ender of the album. Or the first half of the album.
And again, they get away with the melding of the storytelling with the music by kind of having very short lyrics, conveying things through background noise, and just kind of wrapping up the end of the first disc.
Right. I like how Another Brick in the Wall Part 3 kind of builds from 1 and 2, where even if it's only a minute long, it's just a really it makes the vocals sound even more desperate.
Yeah, and at the beginning, I kind of picked up. It sounded like he was committing suicide, but I wasn't sure.
I mean,
like he was jumping out
maybe
of a
suicidal
window.
Tendencies, just because.
Yeah.
There is another half of the album.
Yeah. But I don't know. Maybe it was. I don't know. I'm not Googling anymore. So this is just wild conjecture at this point. But that's what I got.
It's probably more like he wants to die, given his emotional situation.
Yeah, despite the fact saying he doesn't need anyone or medication.
No, he might need at least one of those.
Yeah.
And then, of course, not too much to talk about Another Brick in the Wall Part 3, just because it's only a minute long. And then it leads right into Goodbye Cruel World, which is really, I'd say, like the cool down.
Yeah.
Of kind of cooling down before you you flip it over and go into disc 2.
Yeah, you can't end the first disc where you're supposed to flip on a strong or really like fast-paced song because you're going to completely kill the vibe when you go to flip the disc.
Yeah.
So if you
this one's actually pretty interesting.
Yeah.
Where this song's only a minute long too, but like I noticed, like as the song goes along, like each instrument kind of drops out.
Yeah.
Until at the very end, it's only the vocals left saying goodbye.
Yeah.
So in terms of honestly, if this itself was just like a single album, these 13 songs?
Yes, 13.
This would have been pretty almost like a complete story in and of itself.
Yes, for sure.
The rise and fall, so to speak.
Yeah, the very end is him finishing his wall and shutting himself out from the world while whispering very closely to your ear, which I was not a fan of course.
You don't like it when vocalists get right close into your ear.
I think I could have handled it if it was in both ears, but it was just the one.
It was just the one.
Which
like
made
he was
it
whispering
worse.
through the hole in the wall.
Yeah. Okay, yeah. I like that explanation. I'll accept it. It's a minute long. I can live with it.
Yeah, it's not a 4-minute Billie Eilish song where it's right there for the entire time.
Yeah. But it was.
Yeah.
They certainly made it so that you could listen to disc 1 and disc 2 separate if you had to, which you probably will, since the whole album is 84 minutes or whatever it is.
It's a long album.
Which is why we're splitting this up into 2 parts. This is just the disc 1 section, because we've already been going for almost an hour.
And we're only halfway through.
Yeah, we're only halfway through the total album.
So yeah. And of course we're going to leave final impressions for the overall project until the end of part 2.
Yeah, with favorite songs, our ratings, and all that jazz.
But I still think we can give general impressions about this first half.
Yeah, it's not really fair to do favorite and least favorite from this first half without taking into account everything. Because there might be something on the second half that makes the first half look like gold or trash. So,
or builds off one another.
Yeah,
I say in terms of like a front half and out of an album, I think this is a really strong project. I can see why Pink Floyd's considered one of the best.
Yes, and certainly hope that they get a little bit more attention now that we've thrown our hats into the ring.
This little, I know it's just a little band from the 70s. No one listens to that anymore. But hopefully you can give this project a little more exposure.
Yeah. But yeah, I agree. It's a very strong first album. It's a bit heavy on the storytelling. But, I mean...
Given that it is a rock opera.
Yeah.
Turned movie, in fact.
Yeah. And the fact that they don't even really add anything for the movie, they just play the music, kind of shows you how much storytelling they're able to accomplish. But I mean, like, Brick in the Wall Part 2 and Mother are both songs I had heard before listening through, because this was my first listen, I will say. I tried to before, I'm pretty sure, but gave up when I reached, I think, Mother, because I looked and saw how much was left. But yeah, it's good. A lot of storytelling. The Brick in the Wall trilogy is certainly probably the best part. Although I'm a sucker for Mother because I love that acoustic guitar. So.
It's actually funny because I've actually just today I was out driving and I heard on the radio both Empty Spaces and Young Lust.
Really?
Obviously, they were played back to back. You can't just play Empty Spaces by themselves, and they kept
Right.
everything in, including the phone call at the end. I was like, wow. So I guess it shows that Pink Floyd has enough clout that they'll even play the story sections on the radio.
Yeah, was this just like on your local classic or?
Yeah, this was just our local FM radio.
Huh, interesting. I've never heard anything other than Mother and Brick in the Wall Part 2 on the radio. So
I've heard Young Lust, but never Empty Spaces with Young Lust.
Yeah, that's kind of like the radio stations that play We Are the Champions and We Will Rock You back to back, like they're intended.
Just as Queen intended.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I think that's our main takeaways from this first half.
Yeah, not much left to say about it. We managed to fill an hour somehow.
Often just half an album.
Yeah, I mean it's a very long album.
It's a sizable album, and that means we even have more for next week to talk about.
Yeah, we got the disc 2, tracks 14 through 25 next Sunday.
And we'll be able to listen through, and at the end of that, we'll give our thoughts on the project as a whole.
Yeah, we'll do the whole rating shtick, as you guys know. Go over it real quick, just in case. Just for the sake of it. And I broke everything, so we're not going over that right now. Never mind.
Well, we're not rating it now, anyways. So.
Yeah, good thing we weren't, because I expanded the white background so you can't actually see the text because it's white because it used to be on black. So. Yeah, I'll get that all fixed up for next time.
Oh boy. Well,
good thing we found that out now.
Yes, before we actually have to write it.
Yeah.
But yeah, any closing thoughts?
Not really. I mean, Pink Floyd's been a band I've been wanting to listen to for a while, and I usually get into a rut of just listening to the same thing over and over and over again. So it's very nice to take a step out to something that was experimental in the past and is a bit experimental for me now. Even though I know, as I was saying, I texted Cooper before this that I knew basically all my favorite Pink Floyd songs were off of this album, besides Money. So.
Yeah, so, hey, it's considered one of the greats for a reason.
Yeah.
So, I think it's living up to that.
Yeah.
So, yeah, please join us again next week, where we'll be reviewing and analyzing disc 2 of Pink Floyd's The Wall.
Yeah.
The album, not the movie.
If you have any suggestions or anything for something after that, you can add us on Twitter at Cooper.
Yes, at Audio Shop
14.
14, at Audio Shop 14.
Don't forget the number.
Yeah, 14.
Also, if you leave a comment on YouTube, I'll get to that and see it. I might not respond, but we might address it. We'll probably address it in the podcast. Who are we kidding? We got one comment so far. We will address it at this point.
Unless it's always up for constructive feedback.
Yeah. Yeah, constructive feedback being the key word. I really appreciated your comment, Avocado Pirate. That really good read. And if you guys want to see it, it's on the YouTube. Audio Shop on YouTube. You can find all the VODs there after they expire on Twitch, since Twitch only keeps them for 14 days. So.
Keep it a little more of a legacy.
Yeah, you can listen to all the past podcasts, all glorious 3 of them, and the last one, which has random cuts and jumps because of the OBS shutting down.
Reliving history.
Yeah.
But all right, I think we're just about on the hour.
Yeah.
And
bring it to
that'll be good for tonight.
Yeah. All right. Well, we'll see you shoppies later.
We'll catch you next time.
Goodbye.